Hello all, I'd like to welcome you to the latest edition of the App Nook. My name is New York Giants fan forever, New York Giants fan, take your pick. Today we're going to be covering a new app that Capcom just released, actually called Super Street Fighter 4 Volt. Volt is actually a follow-up to the original Street Fighter 4 game that Capcom released for the iPhone and iPod Touch. It is a kind of like a DLC type of edition, but it has a lot of new features and actually a lot of cool ones that you can play. Just so you know, before we even get into this, there are a few things you should probably know about the app. One, it is actually a little bit lighter than the previous Street Fighter, clocking in at about 338 megabytes. I could be a little bit off on that one, but pretty sure on that. The app can get a little bit expensive. It's supposed to end up at around $7.99, but since this is release week, they are currently having a sale. So if I were you, I'd pick it up now. If not, it will be $7.99. This app will only work on the newer versions of the iPhone and iPod Touch, such as the iPhone 3GS, iPod Touch 3G, 32G, 64GB, iPhone 4, of course. Let's get into the actual app now. See the Capcom logo. This is running on a 3GS, so your experience on an iPhone 4 or iPod Touch 4th Gen may be a bit faster. It's got this basically the same intro as the original one. It does not even bother saying Volt. A lot of the words are recycled, but that's not a big deal. Let's get this going. There are a few modes you can choose to play in. You can either have single player or multiplayer. Single player is going to pit you up against a number of different modes, survival modes, stuff like that. There are player cards and everything else, but we'll get into that later. Single player mode has a standard arcade mode where you can fight a series of battles against opponents on certain difficulty levels. There is survival mode, which is just basically how long you can survive against a series of opponents. Free sparring if you just want to train, training room if you just want to do whatever. Challenge mode will let you complete a series of different tasks, such as performing a certain combo or something like that. Nothing really all that big. There's also something called Wandering Warrior, but we'll get into that in a minute. So for arcade mode, we're just going to go, okay. Now, what separates this from the previous edition of Street Fighter is the addition of a few new characters, most notably Cody, Balrog, and Vega. It really doesn't shift the balance of power all that much, but it is interesting nonetheless that they at least added a few new characters. Most of the characters still remain. The balancing is still a little bit off. Characters like Sagat are obviously broken right now for some reason. If you're a newbie, I honestly suggest Ryu or Ken. They're very easy to learn, but just for the purposes of this, let's just go. Actually, no, let's get out of there. This way I don't get hit while I'm trying to talk. Let's just go into training room. Have some fun in here. There are a bunch of stages you can choose to fight in. Obviously, this is just going to take you to the training room. The backgrounds are pre-rendered, so you're not going to have a lot of movement going on. Characters are made of polygons. And the graphics can be a little bit, they're not the best necessarily on your average device. It looks decent, but it's not going to be amazing. They do look a little bit blurred or muddied. You do have a virtual control pad that you move your character with. You've got an SP button, a punch, kick, and focus attack. Punch is obvious. SP will just shoot off an attack. Kick, focus. You do have ultras and supers, although they did not add any from the previous game. Nothing too big. They look pretty cool though, nonetheless. Pretty flashy. Definitely interesting thing to think about. Battle system is pretty fun. It's fast-paced. I actually like it. It can be a little bit rough at first to get used to the virtual control stick, but it's not all that bad. It's definitely a little bit interesting though at first. If you are struggling, there is an option to set your SP button to automatically perform your special moves instead of having to manually input them on the joystick. This can help a lot if you want to just basically enjoy the game right away without having to learn all the little nuances of it. But aside from that, we're just going to exit this. Yes. Goodbye. Next thing we want to really quickly cover is Wandering Warrior. It's a new addition that they added, where basically every time you fight an online match, you have your own little avatar that's going to fight your opponent's avatar. You have no control over this aside from the fact that you can equip certain titles and stuff like that. The points that you win for completing the bingo board online allows you to power up your characters and get certain titles that go along with it. It's definitely interesting to see. At least you can view your progress. It'll show you the record of what happened. My guy obviously isn't all that great, but that's besides the point. It is a little bit interesting just to see your character grow as you get stronger. Aside from that, you do have a full online versus mode where you can play against other players. It can be a little bit laggy, but I have enjoyed a lot of matches lag-free, which is definitely nice. Right now, Capcom probably has a little bit of problem with players disconnecting. It can be a little bit annoying when you're about to win and somebody disconnects right on you, so keep that in mind. I would definitely play it though. It is fun. It does allow you to play other people without having to have somebody else right next to you. Aside from that, you do have something called Clair Cards, where it's just a status screen about everything that you've done. It's fun way to just keep track of you, and it also allows you to keep track of previous opponents that you've played. We're not going to show that information. You do have questions, options. That recommendations menu is just Capcom news, so it's not all that big. But aside from that, I do like the app. For $7.99, it is a full-featured game. It is very fun. I'd be a little bit wary of spending that much on a digital download, so I think the sweet spot for pricing in this app is around $3 to $5. I would not pay full $8 for it. Other than that, I do like it though. It is a fun, fluid game. Has been upgraded decently since the last one, and I definitely can recommend it if you can get it at a discounted price from the $7.99. Even if you do have to pay the $7.99, it's still a good app. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in this game already, and I love it. So, if you do have to pay the money, I still can recommend it. It's a little bit more on the iffy side. If you like this review today, I highly recommend that you rate, comment, and subscribe, as it's greatly appreciated. Thank you.